Well, let's get some more analysis from different places in the world. Let's start in India, and we can speak to Rohini Singh, a contributor to the Wire news website, who joins us from New Delhi. Now, Rohini, you yourself were targeted. I'd like to ask you, first of all, how did you find out, and what was your immediate reaction?
Hi, Tom. Thank you for having me. I was told a few months ago by Forbidden Stories. They'd gotten in touch with The Wire, which is the news organization that I work for, and which is reporting on this entire scandal in India. They're doing the India chapter. That some of our numbers, my number, as well as the numbers of my editors, was targeted by this through this software. And to be honest, when I heard this, it didn't come as a bit of a surprise, because over the last few years, things have changed a lot in India where journalism is concerned. In the last few years, we've all been told anybody who does investigative stories, who asks questions of the Narendra Modi government, are told to be careful. So we've all been under surveillance, but we didn't know it would be this extensive and this intrusive.
Yeah, and Rohini, I just want to ask you, I mean, was there something you were working on, a story or an investigative report you were working on, something specific that made you a target and not somebody else?
Tom, right before this, I was made the target. I had worked on two stories. One was on the second most powerful man in India, his son, Amit Shah, who's also the Home Minister of the country, and a businessman very close to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I was also working on the third story regarding a financial deal, a very suspect financial deal done between one of India's richest corporates, Ajay Piramal, with one of Narendra Modi's most favored ministers, Piyush Goyal. And I'm told that I was targeted while I was researching the story and a few other stories.
And what does all of this say to us about freedoms, freedom of expression, freedom of the press in India? What's your reading into that?
When we look at how India is slipping so much in the press freedom, indices all over the world every year, new reports come out. This confirms what we've all been saying, and that there is no freedom of the press. We're now living in times where asking questions is being criminalized. There are police cases that are routinely filed against journalists for calling out, ridiculous claims by members of this government, or for reporting a horrific gang rape. A colleague of mine is sitting in jail because he wanted to cover the gang rape of a very oppressed woman who later died in the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is governed by the BJP. So when you see this, you see how 40 journalists were targeted. You look at the profile of the journalists who were targeted, and all of them are anti-establishment voices. It just confirms everything that we've been hearing, that there is no space for free journalism in India.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to ask you very briefly, I mean, how are the authorities reacting, and what do you read into their reactions?
The authorities in India have denied it. They've said there hasn't been any unauthorized surveillance, which of course makes me want to ask them, was the surveillance then authorized? They've also said that there is it's a grand, foreign conspiracy, and there's a foreign hand behind all of this because the world is jealous of how effectively India has handled the COVID crisis. So the explanations and the excuses that are coming in from the government are ridiculous, to say the least. But I would also like to add that the revelations we've done today include, how some very powerful politicians have been targeted, including India's main opposition party leader, Rahul Gandhi. And he was targeted in the run-up to the 2019 general elections of India. And if I may say so, it doesn't matter how much this government, which way they try to spin this, this is probably India's Watergate moment.
Absolutely. And of course, that story about Rahul Gandhi being targeted is one of the top stories, if not the top story, on your website, The Wire. I just saw that earlier. We're going to have to leave it there. I'd love to talk to you for longer, but thank you for sparing us the time. Rohini Singh in New Delhi. Thank you.